Welcome, everyone. I love seeing the chat box fill up. Samantha says this is her best part of the week. I love it. And we haven't even started. There we go. I'm curious if this is our first time on a webinar together, if you would tell me that in the chat box. I recognize quite a few of you. And then I also see new faces. So I always just love to know who the new people are. So good to see you guys. Several of you are in my state, South Carolina. So hello, hello. Can I just say this is prime sitting outside getting a tan time here in South Carolina. So I'm really glad that you all chose to be here with me, those of you that are local. But let's go ahead and jump in. So today we're going to spend about 30 minutes talking about how to increase your contact to set ratio. I know sometimes it can be, who is this person? Why are they teaching this webinar? What's their experience? So I'll touch on that real quick, but the goal is really to get into the content. While I'm introducing myself, if you would grab pen and paper. No, you don't have to take notes, but anybody know what percentage you remember if you don't take notes? It's like a really depressing percentage for me as a public speaker. It's actually better than what you're saying in the chat box. It's 8%. You remember 8% of what you hear. So I would encourage you to take notes. That would help you out with today's content. And just for context, I've been in sales since 2006. Before that, I was a high school teacher. And when I got into real estate in 2013, I sold 85 homes my first year on a team. And I really learned what works and what doesn't when it comes to lead conversion. And what we're going to learn today is the skill that I believe can help you reduce your conversion to roughly 1 out of 10 contacts setting an appointment with you. The reason I feel comfortable saying that is I found that conversion to be true for myself. I averaged 1 out of 8 contacts turned into an appointment. And guys, my background was not sales, it was teaching. So what I want you to know is it's not like a natural, I've always been good at this kind of thing. It's the language patterns, and the language patterns are what earn the results. And I'm going to give you a language pattern today. As I've taught with MAPS now for over 10 years, what I've seen is people who implement what I'm teaching you today. Also, when I check in with them, they also average about 1 out of 10 contacts turning into an appointment. So I feel that that's a pretty healthy expectation. It is going to depend on your ownership of the material today. And that's why I really encourage you to take notes. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I do teach a class called Mega Lead Conversion. You'll see that on the screen. And today's topic is earn 1 appointment per 10 contacts using this approach. The whole goal of today is to increase your likelihood through increasing your skills. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Excuse me. We are high pollen right now in South Carolina. So if I'm coughing on this webinar, I'm so sorry. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is not actually the main topic of today, yet it's worth mentioning. Above all, when it comes to working with clients, the main thing that we need to know about them is their personal motivation. Now, let me be clear. When I say motivation, I don't mean timeline. Sometimes I hear that people translate in their brain that motivation equals timeline. That's not what I mean here. What I mean is motivation is their emotional reason for moving. So let's say that I'm talking to Jamie. Jamie, I love your facial expressions. You're like energizing to talk to today. So let's say I'm talking to Jamie and Jamie and I hop on the phone. I would start by saying, Jamie, you know, moving is so much work. What has you thinking about moving? And as she interacts with me, I'm going to dive deeper into that. So if she says, I'm just thinking about downsizing. The key to getting motivation is to ask whatever they just said in another question. So if she says downsizing, I would say, what about downsizing? I'm emphasizing it here. On the phone, it would just be awesome. What about downsizing is important to you? And maybe she were to say, you know, I want a smaller monthly payment and save some money. Then I might say, oh, that is amazing. So when you have a smaller monthly payment and you're saving money, how would that impact your lifestyle? Like, what is so important about that you're willing to move? So that's not the main topic for today, but can y'all just kind of nod or give me a thumbs up? Does that make sense what I'm saying about get into their motivation? And as they answer you, turn it into a question and then turn it into another question. And in your notes, write down, you want to spend about 3 minutes doing that. Right out of the gate, top of the call. And the reason I say 3 minutes is I've timed this over and over with various clients, myself, and we find it usually takes about 3 minutes to get the true motivation out on the table. Before that, it can be kind of surfacey stuff. Everybody tracking with me so far? Good. So somebody tell me, why would I be saying motivation is the first thing? That's not even the main topic for today. But why do you think we say motivation needs to be the first thing we talk to them about in our conversation? It's the why. I see Vondell saying that in the chat box. Why does the why matter though? Because I've had people say, oh, I mean, you don't need to know that. I don't really ask that of my clients and I help people. Why does it matter so much? Yeah, you guys are saying it there in the chat box. It's what gets people into action. How many of you here have made a decision that maybe was inconvenient, cost a lot of money, maybe didn't make the most logical sense, but you wanted it enough, you did it anyway? Anybody? I think we all have. It could be a vacation you went on that financially didn't make sense, but emotionally it made sense. And the value of the time with your family overrode the amount of money you were spending on the vacation, right? So we all have done that. And I'm not even saying that's a bad decision. I'm happy to spend money on a trip because of the memories and the emotional value of getting away and having a break. So I'm not even saying that's a bad decision. But what I'm saying is when you're clear on why you're doing what you're doing, it can override the logical part of you that's like, oh, is this the best idea? Because you want it bad enough. So the number one thing that's going to help people move forward ultimately is their motivation. That's what will get them into action. And some of you said this in the chat box is logic makes people think, but emotion makes people act. Okay. So what I've observed in myself as a real estate agent and people I've coached, I think realtors, we are problem solvers, and that can cause us to be very logical. And sometimes we jump right into the logic and we're not necessarily spending time on the emotion. So the number one thing that I want you to write down in your notes before we even get into the main stuff for today is on all of your interactions with new clients, spend at least 3 minutes out of the gate talking about why they are moving. That'll get you a long way. Now, let's get into the specific skill of how to get 1 out of 10. Now, I will say we're going to go over this content. You may have questions. At the end, we'll have time for questions, and I will also tell you where to find more training like what you're getting today, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how to uncover objections. Before I do, I want to do a little experiment, and the more of you that participate, the better this will be for the class. And I'm going to ask you to use the chat box. So if somebody says to you, I want to wait till next spring, I'm not asking you how you would respond to that. What I'm asking you is, what are you assuming their reason is? So somebody says, I want to wait till next spring. What comes to mind is why they might be saying that, and tell me in the chat box. And I'm going to count off various reasons as we go. So we have rates, the market, school. Wow, I love how much you're interacting. I can't even keep up. I'm planning to retire. I don't have enough money. My job. Yeah, weather, bigger down payment, family, lease period ends, tax return. So guys, I was counting as fast as I could and it flew by so fast, I probably captured maybe like 60% of your answers. And in that 1 minute there, I counted 11 different reasons why someone might choose to wait till next spring. And I didn't even capture everything you were saying. Do y'all see how, and I'm about to get really passionate, but sometimes we hear, oh, when they say this in response. Have you ever sat in a training like that? When they say this, here's your one-liner response. And the reason that that's not effective, just from this class with 150 people on there in about 1 minute, counting maybe 60% of your answers, we had 11 different reasons represented for why someone might say the sentence, I want to wait till spring. So if you are choosing a one-line response, it's almost like throwing a dart at a target. And if you happen to hit the right ring, you're good to go. But if you miss it 10 out of 11 chances, you're going to be wrong. Are you all tracking with me on that? And so what's important is to uncover the actual objection. So I'm going to give you a pattern today. What I like about patterns is you can do it in your own words, but you do want to follow the science. So in other words, there are 4 steps to uncovering an objection. Make sure you're following the 4 steps, but you can also do it in your own language, the way that you like to speak. So let's go through what the 4 steps are to uncover the true objection. So, and by the way, in a moment, I'm going to ask someone to practice with me. I'll be the agent. I just need someone to give me a pretty realistic objection that I can uncover. Okay. All right. So uncovering objections. The first thing you're going to do is welcome and rephrase. So you're going to say something like, I'm so glad that you told me. What you're saying is you want to wait until the spring. Is that right? And something like that. So let's break this down real quick. Let me hear you unmute yourself. Why would we say, I'm so glad you told me, or I'm so glad you brought that up? What's the psychology of that?
Letting them know that you're actively listening and in tune to what they're saying. And that shows that you're concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. It shows I'm listening, and it's not usually what they're expecting. A lot of times people kind of expect when they interact with someone in sales that if they give an objection, they're going to be overwhelmed with, oh, but you should because blah, 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 blah. And we don't want to do that. I actually want to create an environment that says, hey, I'm fine with it if you tell me your objections. I'm a safe space for that. Don't we all have someone in our life that we don't look forward to telling news because they always have a negative reaction? My grandmother was like that, not her normal personality, but when she was older with dementia, you could tell her it was sunny outside and she'd be like, ugh, and it was the dementia, and I knew that. But it created this, I don't really want to tell her things because she gets upset. So trying to like navigate lightly and sharing the positive with her and things like that. And so we don't want to be that person. We don't want to be the person who has a reaction whenever somebody gives us an objection. We want to be the safe place. The other thing here is when we repeat it back to them and say, is that right? We're going to get a yes, most likely if we heard them right, which from a psychological perspective, we're getting a yes early and handling this objection, which is a psychological win. Okay. All right. Number 2, then you're going to dig into it. So somebody said, I want to wait until spring. Then I might say, what about waiting until spring is important to you? And that, again, that's that same concept I taught you when we were talking about motivation. I'm simply going to use their words in the next question. So if they said the grass is too green, I'm so glad you brought that up. So you don't want to buy that house because the grass is too green? Okay, great. What about the grass being too green is important to you? And nobody's going to say that. I'm just making a point. Whatever they tell you, turn it into a question. So back to our original example, what about waiting until spring is important to you? And they may say, I'll be able to save a bigger down payment. Okay, what makes you feel that you need a bigger down payment? And basically, again, I'm just turning their answer into the next question. Now, again, what's on the screen is just example. The key here in your notes is make sure it's an open-ended question, which means it's not yes or no. So it needs to be open-ended, and it needs to have their word in the question. So you could also say, what's the benefit to you of having a bigger down payment? Or how would it help you to have a bigger down payment? What causes you to feel you must have a bigger down payment? And, any of that would be fine. And they might say, well, I really want my monthly payment to be $3,000 a month or less. And after doing some math, I think I need, blank amount of a down payment. Okay. All right. So then you're going to summarize it back. So now what I'm going to do, step number 3, is say, all right, I think what I'm hearing you say is you want to wait until spring. And that's because you want to have a bigger down payment, ultimately, so that your monthly payment is below $3,000 a month. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. And then I know I'm on the same page. What's nice about the summary is sometimes I've summarized and in my head, I've got it. I know exactly what they're saying. And then when they actually go to answer me there, they're like, no, you misheard me. or they'll add something to it. And so the summary is to let them know I'm listening, but it really is to make sure I got it correctly. Then number 4 is what's called a conditional close. And in your notes, I would encourage you, don't write only conditional close. Students will message me and say, what did this mean again? So you can write that down, but the idea is, if I can solve it, would you be open to talking about it? If I can solve that, would you be open to talking about it? Can I share with you a way to not do this well? I've heard people say, hey, if I can solve that, would you meet with me today? And I can appreciate the heart behind that. You're going for an appointment, and I know that that's important and we want to do that. But what I would tell you is it's too strong of a close here. We just want to see if they're open to talking about it. That's it. I don't need to ask them to meet with me at this point. Right now, they're a skeptical person because they have this objection. So to go from, I have this objection to, will you meet with me today? That's a big leap, right? So it's more just, hey, if I can solve that, would you be open to it? So in this example, I would say, hey, if we can figure out a way to get you a $3,000 a month or less payment now, would you be open to talking about it? And if they say yes, I will go into a feature benefit statement, which I'll teach you in just a moment. And if they say no, there's likely another objection. And I'll say, okay, well, what else is holding you back? And notice in that example, I haven't actually solved anything yet. This whole page, I have not made any statements other than, so glad you told me. So glad you brought that up. That's it. That's the one and only statement. Every other thing I'm saying here is a question. Now, part of why we do questions, have you ever had a conversation with a friend and they ask you a lot of questions? Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a friend. And as they ask you questions, you realize, I don't know why I think this. Or if they ask you good questions, you can also conclude, yeah, I don't really know if that's accurate. I'm thinking of a lead right now who said she was hesitant to move because her uncle told her the market wasn't very good. And I don't remember the exact questions. This was a couple years ago. But somewhere in here, I remember asking her, what makes you, I don't remember how I worded it, but something like, what makes you feel your uncle knows the market well enough to talk about the real estate market? And she got very quiet. And she's like, I don't know why I think that. I don't really actually know. And so it was almost like the questions helped her self-realize it wasn't based actually in reality. Okay. In my friend group, there was a major conflict maybe 2 weeks ago, and I got drug into it somehow as like a mediator. And I just asked the main conflict creator, I said, what makes you feel that that's true? And she's like, well, so-and-so told me. I said, well, have you actually talked to the person in question? No. Does that align with the character you know about him? No. And by the end, she actually got very emotional and was crying and apologized. There were no statements in that. It was just questions. I wasn't trying to do the uncovering objection pattern. I think because I know it so well, it kind of came out. But the point I'm making is through asking quality questions, you can actually help people self-discover they're not thinking correctly about something, or can give you intel as to why they think what they think so you know how to fix it. Now, sometimes as you do this, you'll agree with their objection. Someone might say, I might be talking, to Michael, and he might say, yeah, I need to wait till next year. Okay, what about waiting till next year is important to you? And the reasons he gave me, I might think to myself, oh yeah, he should probably wait till next year. And that's fine, right? I'm building my pipeline for the future, and I'm building a relationship with Michael. And as I continue these interactions, he'll probably work with me later. And then other people you'll do this with, and you'll realize they're not really actually thinking about this correctly, and I could help them. So I need a volunteer. Let me be very clear about what I'm looking for as you volunteer. I'm not looking for some outlandish, crazy objection we would not get on a normal phone call. The goal is to help the masses in this call with something practical that would likely come up. What I'm not looking for is anything around the current NAR stuff. We're not going to role play that in this setting because we don't have a lot of time to do a deep dive. We've got like 9 minutes left. So I am looking though for someone to volunteer with a pretty realistic objection. And ultimately you're willing to meet with me. You don't have like 10 objections, just one easy objection so I can show this. Tim, I see your hand raised. So go ahead and come off mute. I appreciate the volunteer.
Sure.
And Tim, let's say that we've already talked and I have your personal motivation. And we're just going to say that you want to live closer to your family to help your aging parents. Maybe that's what it came down to, because you'll see me weave that into this. So Tim, go ahead and share with me your objection.
Objection would be, yeah, I really like it down where I live. I really like it down here in Florida, so I'm really kind of hesitant to move
Okay.
up to Michigan where it's cold.
Okay. So actually that would be more of a motivation piece. So an objection is more like a reason for why you don't want to move or might not move. I guess it could be that, but to me, this sounds more like a motivation. Do you have a different objection you can throw out there? It's not quite in the vein of objections.
Objection.
Or
Okay,
go ahead.
like someone else. I know someone else that's thinking about that can help me.
Oh, another agent?
Yeah.
Okay. So think it through real quick, because I'm going to ask you questions to dive in, and you want a story in your head before we dive in. So I'm so glad that you told me, Tim. So what you're saying is you want to move, but you have another agent you're considering working with. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the other agent is appealing to you that makes you want to work with them?
Well, they were referred to me.
Okay.
You know, I guess some of the friends I know used them before, and they did a really good job for them. So, you know, I think they can really do a really good job for me as well.
Okay. And what to you would make an agent do a good job? Like when you say that you really feel they would do a good job, describe what a good job is in your mind.
Good job on my mind would be to sell my house for the most amount of money in the
Okay.
time frame that I want,
Okay.
and also give me great communication.
Okay. And what does great communication look like to you? Because everybody has a different opinion about what that means. So what does great communication look like to you?
Yeah, update me at least once a week, maybe more, but at
Okay.
least once a week.
So once
Kind
a
of
week.
what's going on in the market, what, you know, showings. Okay, if we're getting showings, what kind of feedback? If we're not getting showings, why not? You know, things like that.
Okay. Perfect. So I think what I'm hearing you say, Tim, is you are considering working with another agent. What you're ultimately looking for, though, is someone who will do a good job. And for you, that's defined as, and I took notes, this is what I recommend you do. For you, that's defined as someone who would make you the most amount of money in a quick time frame that has great communication, which would be at least once a week, if not more, things like showings, what's happening in the market. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Tim, if I could show you that I could provide that for you, I have a track record that I'm happy to share with you about time frame, how I communicate, earning our clients the most amount of money. Would you be open to at least hearing about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing, you know, getting a second opinion, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I'm asking for. And then we'll stop there. Okay. So thank you, Tim. I really appreciate that. That was a good example. I appreciate you jumping in there.
You got the appointment.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would do there then is go into the next part. So let me go ahead and share with you where we go next. And then we're going to quickly be at time. So I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick for us. So what I would do then, now that I have the interest, yeah, I'd be open to hearing about that. What we do is called a fact or like a feature benefit statement is what you call it. And what you do is you give a fact, a story, or a statistic, and then tie it back to the client in some way. So what I mean by that is you could say, and by the way, this is true of the team I come from, we sell houses for 3.5% more than the average agent in the area. That's what our track record shows. That's a fact. Okay. I could stop there, but that sounds very me or my team focused. It doesn't sound very Tim focused. So the way that we make it personalized, and this is where that motivation comes in, I could say, instead of just we sell for 3.5% more, I'm going to say, hey, Tim, typically we sell houses 3.5% more than the average agent in the area. that's going to give you 3.5% on average more money in your pocket and help you get closer to your parents so you can help take care of them as they're getting older. So I'm tying the fact into Tim's story, and that helps you be a lot more customer oriented, less self-oriented. So you're still talking about yourself, but then you're tying it right back to the client. So you can do that by either sharing a fact, you could share a story, maybe share a brief story. We had another client that had an agent friend they were going to work with. They came to us and we actually sold the home faster, and they stayed friends with their agent or they stayed friends with their friend, something like that, or a statistic. So that's what's called a feature benefit. So again, you have the 4 steps to uncover it, and then you provide that feature benefit statement. Doing this, it's going to help you move clients forward. A lot of times we hear an objection and it can be a quick, like, okay, I'll follow up with you. Or someone says, I'm going to wait until fall. Okay, I'll follow up with you then. How many of us have been guilty of that, right? I've done that because I don't really know what to do with it. So now, if someone says, oh, I'm going to wait till the fall, or, oh, I'm worried about interest rates, or, oh, whatever, you just know to say, okay, great. I'm glad you told me what's important to you. Oh, sorry. I'm glad you told me you want to wait, right? Okay, what's important to you about waiting? So now you have a construct for how to handle that type of thing. So who here would say you feel you could earn more money because of what you just learned, ultimately, right? I'm very passionate about this if you can't tell. And it's because when I first got into sales, I was very much struggling with money. The pattern I learned here today, and there's 19 total patterns that are captured in this class called Mega Lead Conversion. It starts in less than 2 weeks. That class is what changed my career. The content of this class took me from when I first started, I actually had to go somewhere to get some financial help. Now I'm able to help others financially because my skill improved, which meant my money improved. So there's a class starting it says February 7th here. I'm sorry, I need to fix that. It's starting May 1st is what it's doing. So it's starting May 1st, megaleadconversion.com. And in that class, we teach everything you see here on the left side, plus more. I just only had so much space. But basically the goal of the class is to take you from hello all the way through a signed agreement. So we work with you on how to start the conversation all the way through they've met with you and they've actually signed the agency agreement. So we cover all that in the class. To learn more, just go to megaleadconversion.com. When you click on sign up, you'll see all of the dates right here. You'll see the time. So Wednesdays at 2:30 Central. It's a 6-month class, $199 a month for 6 months. Okay. The chat box has the link. And what I would say is if you already know you want to take the class, do us a favor and sign up now so we can get your portal made versus last minute. We can do it last minute, but it makes life a lot easier if you do it sooner. But I want to share one thing with you and then I'll open it up to questions. Actually, I'll share 2 things real quick. I got an email from a client in the class right now. She emailed me maybe 2 weeks ago. And she said, I'm a single parent with 2 kids. And when I started your class, I was working a lot more hours a week. And I just want you to know, because of your class, I have more time with my kids, because she's not working as many hours anymore to find clients. So she's a lot better skilled, which means she has more time. So that just filled my bucket. That really made my week, my whole month, actually. And then I had another client message me about halfway through the 6-month program. And she said, I'm already sitting in front of 10 extra people a month. Not setting, not talking to, actually sitting down and doing a presentation in front of 10 extra people a month about 3 months into the program. So here's the deal. If you will show up and participate, you will see result from it. If you say, I don't know if I'll show up, I don't know if I'll take notes and be dedicated, then don't do it. But if you know yourself enough to know you'll show up, you'll take notes. We do record it. So if there's a conflict of time, that's no problem. I highly encourage you to take that class starting May 1st. Okay. Vondell, I'm not sure if I know your question. Can I explain the renewal part on the 18th? I actually don't know what you mean by that.
On the order form, it says could you just open it back up? It's kind of.
I could tell you really quick, Vondell. That's just because today is the 18th. So it'll show right now that it's going to renew on the 18th. We changed that on the back end to the 1st. So the billing date will be on the 1st, after the month of the start date. So if you sign up now for May, you won't, you'll pay the $199 and you won't get billed again until June 1st.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So May,
Mhm.
so May 1st, even though we paid on the, okay, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
a prorated wording.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, so that's a great question. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, yay, Vondell, I'll see you in class. That's awesome. Let me show you real quick how to do this, and then I'll take questions. First of all, if you have any questions, you can watch this video I made. You could ask me here. If you scroll down, again, this is megaleadconversion.com. Here's a bunch of FAQ. When you click to sign up, let me say a few things. If you are not with Keller Williams, just click no. A lot of people say, can I take this because I'm with another brokerage? And yes, any brokerage can take the class. And then down here, it says, what's your Keller Williams ID? Just put no or none. Just that, it just can't be blank. Okay. But I wouldn't want that to stop you. If you are wanting to do this and you're not Keller Williams, you can bypass that. And then real quick, this is what the client portal looks like once you're signed up. Give us a bit to create it for you. But once class begins, here's a class that started back in February. And let's say that you would love to take the class, but you could never be there 3:30 Eastern time on Wednesdays. What you'll do is 24 hours after the class airs, we post the recording right into the client portal. So I also have clients who they'll tell me, you know, I took the class, but I loved this one and I need help. So I keep re-watching that particular video. Perfect. That's what we put it there for. So there's a client portal with all the recordings, $199 a month for 6 months. Again, megaleadconversion.com. Yeah, Russell, you can share the sign up link. It's just megaleadconversion.com. I would be delighted if you shared that with people. Please do. megaleadconversion.com. Okay, what questions do we have? Speak up quickly, just because we don't have much time. We're actually a tad over and I do have to run here in just a moment. So what questions do you guys have?
Okay, quick question. I've already signed up. So is there
Awesome.
any suggestions you have as far as to kind of be pre-prepared
Ooh,
or
I
anything
love
like
that
that, or
question.
or any material that we get beforehand that we can start delving into it or
That's a
anything?
very, very good. I've never been asked that question. That's such a good question. What I would say, Tim, is I would start working on asking open-ended questions. That's the main structure of the program, is built upon the ability to ask open-ended questions. So even what I taught today, we're going to email all of you this recording in the next 24 hours, even rewatching this and pay attention to how to ask those digging questions. And I would just say with friends and family, start asking them open-ended questions using their word. So if they say, I had a good day today, you could say, what about today made it so good? And just start practicing that. And honestly, Tim, that would be the best thing you could do.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
What's the duration of each of the sessions, and about how many people participate?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's, here, let me put this in there. It's a 1-hour class. And typically at the end, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes of questions available. So that way I'll teach and then we have time for questions and interaction. And usually we have probably 1 to 150 people sign up. And some of those people are teams and whatnot. But Linda, I guess I'm curious the question behind your question. Usually when people ask that, they're wondering, is it going to be chaotic? And it's actually a lot like today where everybody's muted and I can control that. So if people are being disruptive, I can just kick them out, mute them. And so it's a lot like today's format, just a bit slowed down. What I just taught you today, we usually spend 2 hours on in class doing significantly more practice.
Yeah, thank you, because this went really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a free webinar and we want to give you as much as we can. And in the class, we have a whole hour just for today's content. And then the second class is just practice. The whole hour is just me demonstrating and practicing. And we go through, I tell people, bring your objections to the next class. And then we're just going to role play and practice the whole next time with me as the agent, you as the client. So yeah, it's a lot more. It's still a lot of info, but it's a lot more slowed down so you can digest it. Yeah. Good. Yay. Any other questions about class? I do have an appointment in a few minutes, so I'm going to have a hard stop. So speak up quickly if you do.
I'm really looking forward to the class.
Yay, me too. I'm excited to have
Hmm.
you. The class I'm running right now, it's awesome. People are very interactive and it really is my favorite hour of the week. It really truly is. And if you can't tell from being here today, I have a lot of fun teaching the class. And today I feel rushed because we have 30 minutes. So it's a lot of fun. And again, where I come from, just to share why I care so much about it is, I grew up in a family where we just didn't have money. So I know the pain of not having money and the impact of that. And I also know even if you have money, but you don't feel like you're performing very well at work, or maybe you are, but you'd like to do better, that's just not a great feeling, right? And truly, the content in this class has truly changed my life. I'm in a totally different financial spot. I have a lot more financial security in my life because of the content. And work is a lot more fun because I'm actually good at it now. It's not a good feeling to be bad at what you do for work, right? And so it's just more fun being good at what you do. And all of that is where you see the passion coming from. And I'm telling you, when that client emailed me and said, I'm a single mom and I have more time with my kids, that's probably an email I'll remember for the next couple of years. That's why I do this. Yeah.
Can
And
I
I-
share something real quick?
I have a quick-
Sure. We'll do Vondell and then Tim, and then I probably should hop off. Go
Right.
ahead.
My quick question is, would this help with cold calling? Is there a specific type of database that it would help us with, or is it the full database experience from the MREA?
Yeah.
And then the second part has really been about the last few classes I signed up for, they like pushing back. And I don't know if that's a MAPS thing or individual coach thing. So if you could speak to those two quickly,
Yeah, that's a good question. So, first question was what type of lead? Any type of lead. And I don't mean that broadly. This class is really how to talk to humans and turn them into clients.
okay.
So to make a point, I even had a friend from church who's a photographer, not even a real estate photographer. She just said, can I take your class? And I said, sure, just know you'll need to switch out the real estate examples for photography examples, but yeah, you can take the class. She just quit showing up 3 months in, and I ran into her at church. And I said, hey, is everything okay? I haven't seen you in class. She laughed and she said, yes, my business is so busy. That's why I haven't been in class. I watch the recordings now. And she said, I just signed the biggest client I've ever had, and it's because of what I've learned in your class. And she's not even in real estate. So the content is, if you talk to humans, honestly, whatever industry you're in, and you need to turn them into clients, this will teach you how to do that. So it doesn't matter what the lead source is. And then as far as classes being pushed back, this class has never had that. I don't know why that might be. That's never been one of my classes. Sometimes it might be if there's not quite enough people signed up, they'll push it back. That might be why. I don't really know. But if you don't want this class to have that happen, and it never has, tell people so they sign up with you. That would be the best thing. Because we do want to make sure there's enough people that it's a quality class for you to interact in. So, but yeah, I don't know all the reasons, Vondell, but this class has not had that happen.
Okay.
All right, last question, Tim, go ahead.
It's not necessarily a question. It's just a quick statement. I do a lot of open houses in around the $800,000 price range. It gets a little frustrating when you're meeting all these people and, you say, hey, you have a great rapport with them like that. And then you don't set up an appointment and then they kind of fall away.
Yeah.
And it's like all these people are coming through me or by me or like
Yeah.
that, and I'm not making any money.
Yeah, this will help you with that. This will help you with that.
Yeah.
We just had so there's a class 2 of them running right now. And there's a client in the class running right now that started in February. She specializes in open houses, and she just told me recently that this helped her start setting more appointments, and she's having better quality conversations in the actual house because of now she knows what to ask them. She knows what to say. So this will definitely help you. So I applaud you guys for being here. You could have been doing anything else, and you chose to show up today. So thank you. Please do tell people about the class. Someone this week emailed me and said, I've been in coaching for 3 years and somehow I've never heard of this class. I wish I knew about it sooner. So would you just do me a favor? If you know someone that would benefit, would you pass the message along? And then if you are interested, sign up. You will get your money's worth out of it as long as you participate. You will make more money as you do it.
Awesome.
All right. I don't know what you mean by your question, Cherish. ISA means inside sales agent. Oh, what is ISA name? Oh, is that on the contract? Kyle, who's our MAPS connector here, we might need, you can just leave that blank. I think we need to fix that. I don't think we need that. Yeah, so here's the thing. I think I know what that's for. This class used to be $800 a month for one person, and we did not allow any more than one person per sign up. And then we tweaked it and revamped it a little bit. Now you can have 2 people for one sign up, but you must be on the same team. So what that blank is for, I think it's from, we probably should rename the blank. But let's say you're on a team and you want your buyer agent or somebody else from your team to be in there, you can add them in that blank for access. But they have to be within the same team. And we just did that as a gift during 2020 when the market was crazy and we wanted to make the class accessible, and we just left it that way. All right, guys, I am now late for my next appointment, so I should probably go. It was a pleasure being with you this afternoon. Again, megaleadconversion.com starts in less than 2 weeks. Go ahead and sign up today so we can get your portal organized and all good to go for you. And I will see you starting on May 1st. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.